This is the Unit 6 project for oceans and their ecosystems, titled Coral Reefs. Coral is a type of animal found in the ocean, and they come together to form colonies called coral reefs. They are most prevalent in the Pacific Ocean, especially near Australia. They are not limited to this area, however, and can thrive near Africa and in the Americas. Because they are particular with the temperature that they can survive in, they stay within a certain zone of the equator. Next, I'm going to talk about why they are important. To start, coral reefs are sometimes called the rainforests of the sea because, just like the rainforests on land, they support a variety of life forms. It is said that there are thousands of plant and animal species that can live in a reef ecosystem. To be a little more specific, there are approximately 4,000 different types of fish and 700 different species of coral found in the reef environments. So why are they so good at supporting life? That's because they create shelter and provide food and nutrients for organisms. Scientists have even done a study where they calculated almost 25% of all marine species in the ocean are supported by coral reefs. It's really a lot when you think about the grand scale of the ocean. Scientists also claim that 1 million species have some sort of connection to the coral reef ecosystems. It's important to know that because of all the types of life that live in or near them, coral reefs help keep the food web balanced. In general, they create a healthy ocean. So, in other words, coral reefs have what we would call biodiversity, which means containing a variety of life. Coral reefs are also important because of the food and medicine that they provide humans. They are a huge source of protein. It's approximated that this source of protein can feed up to 1 billion people. Possibly the most important feature of a coral reef is in all the chemical compounds found there. These compounds can help produce medicine. Treatments for all sorts of things have come about from reefs. For instance, cardiovascular disease, ulcers, leukemia, lymphoma, and skin cancer have all seen treatments of some sort because of coral reefs. They have also been known to help in reducing inflammation, killing viruses, and relaxing muscles. Coral has a really unique skeletal structure, which provides an important form of bone grafting material as well. It is truly remarkable how these ecosystems contain treatments to our problems. It is definitely a possibility that in the future we could discover even more types of medicine through studying the coral reefs. The economy also benefits from coral reefs. They create millions of jobs, starting with the communities near the reefs and spreading across the globe. Tourism and fishing generates money flow as well. One example is the Caribbean island of Bonaire. They make approximately $23 million off of activities dealing with their coral reef. Another specific example is in the Florida Keys. The revenue from the coral reef alone was approximately $1.6 billion. Just to add a few statistics in here, in 2002, the value of a coral reef was about $10 million, and the benefits that the economy gained from a coral reef was close to $360 million. Believe it or not, but these ecosystems provide us with protection. They are natural barriers, or breakwaters, from storms like hurricanes, tsunamis, and typhoons. They protect cities, beaches, buildings, communities, etc. One example is with the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami. The coast was actually spared quite a bit because of the coral reef's protection. The opposite was true in the Maldives, however. They had mined away their salt and coral, which left them vulnerable to storms. They ended up having to build a wall to protect them that cost over $10 million. Next, I'm going to talk about the threats to coral reefs and what is causing them to die. We are all aware of the growing problems with the rising carbon dioxide levels, especially through issues like global warming. Another one of these problems has to do with coral reefs. Carbon dioxide is emitted into the air through the use of cars and other technology. The ocean tends to absorb this carbon dioxide, causing ocean acidification. Ocean acidification is basically the absorption of carbon dioxide, which results in a lower or more acidic pH level. Coral is one type of animal that requires certain levels of light, temperature, and even pH. So the rise in acidification causes poor calcification in coral. Calcification is the process through which coral creates its strong skeleton. So that basically means that poor calcification leads to a weak skeletal structure. This ultimately goes back to the protection coral reefs provide because the weaker coral reefs can no longer keep storms at bay. Coral reefs cannot survive in a wide range of temperatures, so that means they can only live in certain areas. Their inability to adapt to the changing environment leads to a lot of stress, since they are animals. The stress oftentimes leads to death. One cause of stress is the rising sea temperature. One of the things that happens when coral is stressed is called coral bleaching. That's basically when coral secrete the algae within them, making the coral lose their pigment. Coral are normally very colorful because of the algae in them, so when coral bleaching takes place, they turn completely white. They can survive coral bleaching, yet it still adds a lot of stress to the organism. As sea level rises, the coral reefs are subject to a lack of sunlight because they are now deeper in the water. This can also stress the coral out. So here's an example of coral bleaching. It turns it completely white. Human impact is probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, problems. Overfishing affects the coral reef by taking out way too many fish from the ecosystem. Every part of the ecosystem counts, so depleting one fish will affect the entire reef. Not only are we overfishing, but we're also using really bad techniques for fishing. Fishers are using large nets that drag across the bottom of the seafloor, which could tear up the reef. Normally, you wouldn't think that deforestation and poor use of the land would have an impact on the coral reefs in the ocean, yet they do. A lot of the times, waste gets dumped into rivers that lead into the ocean, which eventually makes its way to the coral reefs. Chemicals, including but not limited to carbon dioxide, seep into the ocean and create problems for the biotic factors. One example is with fertilizers. After dumping fertilizers and chemicals onto plants, extras seep into the rivers, and runoff waters lead into the ocean, causing deformities of animals. Coral reef ecosystems are affected by diseases and plagues that are often connected to humans, and invasive species can also affect the coral reefs. Sometimes these species are brought over on boats, and sometimes they're unintentionally brought over by boats, like with the zebra mussels in the Great Lakes. As population grows, coastal areas are changing and developing in order to sustain more people. All of these changes, such as building new ports and power plants and having an overabundance of trash, can destroy reefs. The last problem is actually the lack of will that the government and the public have to protect the reefs. A lot of the times, people are unaware that the things that we are doing are damaging these important environments. Yet at other times, people tend to believe that the reefs are the least of our worries. In the end, we're just letting all of these problems continue. So, overall, I think we need to help these places because they benefit us so much. They're a big part of our world, and in the end, it's better to protect and preserve them for the long run instead of using up everything that we have right now.